What's up, everybody? Hold on, let me
What's up, everybody?
get this feedback loop fixed. How's everybody doing? What's going on? Get Audacity recording. Welcome. Another week. Another week has gone by. So, before we get started, as per what I talked about last week, got some good news. Little Raz's tests came back yesterday, and he does not have cancer. So Little Raz is going to be around for a while yet. He's he's just old, but he's cancer free. So thank fucking God for that. Yeah. Anyway, last week, if you missed it, it's up on Spotify and on YouTube right now. Was me designing my design for my perfect MMORPG. So if you missed that, make sure to check it out. And I'm again like if any of my content you can't do much about it on Spotify other than download any podcasts that you missed. But as far as me right now on YouTube, you can always help just by giving a like and sharing it to people if you think it'll help them if it's relevant. And this week is another more men's focused mental health topic, which is being a fucking simp. How to not be a fucking simp. Set boundaries, there's plenty of things here. I have my notes pulled up. Let people file in, and then again, the nice thing is I can come in and we can do this shit and not have you can rewatch it and you won't miss a whole lot because there's not anything to really watch outside of my dumbass head just sitting here talking in the mic. What's up, Zio? How you doing? Oh, you're good, man. You're good. So sorry I haven't been around for your stream since I've been usually getting ready to do my own thing. I hope I have been doing well. Thank you, man. How is your own shit going? How are things going on your end? You've been streaming a lot, or what have you been up to? But yeah, dude, no need to apologize. Any and all support's appreciated whenever you can come by. But we're gonna talk today. So today is another men's mental health kind of topic. We're going to talk about, especially if you're a dude in the modern world and you have any desire, hope of any kind to be in any kind of romantic relationship. So that's what this is going to be focused on today. For some background, if you're not aware of, I'll give you a brief history of my story, because just like all dudes, I was a fucking simp at some point. Just trying to get a little sniff of that pussy. You know what I mean? But I was I had some like female interests and basic ass girlfriends in K through 12. Didn't really pay too much attention to it though. I was more interested in video games and skateboarding and hanging out with my friends than I was in being in any kind of relationship. Had a really great relationship at the beginning of college. And then after that, got into a really toxic relationship, which turned out to be a 9-year marriage after the fact. Don't recommend it. Ended in divorce, obviously. And then took a hiatus from dating and doing any kind of thing like that for about a little over 3 years. Had a couple crazy chicks get in my DMs. Been on a ton of first dates, up to second dates, probably around like 20 of them. When I actually did start to date again, it's fucking bad out there, boys. I'm telling you right now, it's a shit show. And kind of was in a not really an official relationship, but was seeing a girl pretty heavily for about 3 or 4 months, and that turned out to not be a good match, not be a good first real relationship back. And I am now in an actual healthy relationship. It's been going about 8 months now. But let me get the chat here. Zio says, good, thanks. I'm working on a major project right now. Finished voiceover for a major project. Nice. Looking to have it done next Sunday for the 10th anniversary of the game I cover. That's Phantasy Star, right? That's awesome, man. Congrats. It's bitching. Lord Pan says, dating is a minefield nowadays. Bro, I'm 29, not interested in dating right now. I'm not saying it's going to stay like that forever, but entire crazy chicks ruining lives. Dude, I 100%. I know what you mean. There are a lot of fucking crazies out there, and hopefully this guide that I've put together here will help you guys. Little Raz is choking, which, by the way, if you missed the early announcement, he does not have cancer, so that's good. Scared to death, Zio? Amen. Remember, bravery is not the absence of fear; it's pushing forward, even though you're afraid. So Get on it, man. Do that shit. But first, let's start off with defining what is a simp. So, simp is a word that's been thrown around a lot in our culture over the last 5 to 10 years, I would say. Before that, it was really unheard of, as an insult or anything. So it was what is an actual simp? And there's all kinds of different people's have their own definition of what it is. First and foremost, if you ever subscribed to some chick's OnlyFans, or you were ever on some chick's Twitch page and you gave her money just because of what she looks like and get a little recognition, you're a fucking simp, and stop it. Stop it right now. But I think that's pretty blunt and obvious. That's visible to the naked eye, right? That person's a fucking simp. If you're a white knight, you're a fucking simp. Jump in front from a lady's honor, which the lady is someone who doesn't give two shits about you. And that boils down ultimately to what being a simp is, right? Giving a ton of recognition, financial support, emotional support, physical support to someone of the opposite sex who doesn't give you the time of day, doesn't reciprocate at all in any way, shape, or form. And you keep doing it, hoping to get recognized, hoping to get a little sniff of that pussy, you know what I mean? But you never do, right? There's no simp or white knight card that, once you get 15 stamps on it, you get pussy. So I hate to break it to you, that's not it's not a thing. So ultimately, a simp makes a lot of concessions and no compromises. Compromise is both people give up something to get something. Concession is one side gives up everything or something with no return, no yield, no ROI, return on investment. So I'm sure every single one of us, if you're a dude, you've been a fucking simp at least once in your life. You've been a simp. It's part of growing up and turning into a fucking man is you're a simp. And you know what? The reason why you become a simp in the first place, I don't even think it's your fault. I think it boils down to parents. Because when we are young, we're taught the fucking gynocentric narrative of, that as dudes, we're taught that, chicks are these perfect angelic beings that can do no wrong, and we need to earn, their attention, which couldn't be further from the truth. Some of the nastiest and worst people I've ever met in my life have been women. And I've met a lot of shithead dudes too, but like what I'm talking about here is like the shit I hear women say about other women, not about dudes and not to your face, but just to other fucking women is it blows my mind, man. The shit they say to each other is absolutely atrocious, and about each other behind each other's backs. So what I'm going to go into here is, if you are interested at all in ever dating again in this, shithole of a crumbling society, the fall of Rome that we're going through here, it is possible. But man, it's going to require a lot of work. And if you decide that amount of work is not worth it to you, no judgment. Like, I totally get it. If you decide, hey, I just don't want to do that, then because, XYZ or because of the minefield it is, then yeah, it's pretty bad. And I know there's a lot of like quote unquote red pill content creators out there. I don't consider myself one. I just speak from my life experiences and what I've learned. And I know there's a lot of like red pill rage out there, and there's guys that, there's dudes that just fucking hate women now, and just like there are women that hate fucking men, the feminazis that hate men, blame men for all their problems. In the same way that, now a lot of dudes are blaming women for all their problems, and it's not the case. There are good women out there. And there's a lot of stereotypical red flags that I don't buy into, because people are individuals, right? But there are some that stand the test of time. There are others that should be more of yellow flags than red flags, but every kind of like red pill or, MGTOW community will label them as red. And it's simply, people are more complex than you think. And that's something I've learned, because I went through the whole red pill rage shit too after my divorce. My wife was a cheating hoe, and I went through the red pill rage, man. I was fucking pissed about everything, and so you hopefully you get out of that rage at some point. If you don't, you're wasting your life. It's the same as being addicted to alcohol or drugs. If you just stay there, it's not going to help you. It doesn't benefit you in any way. So if you do want to date, I'm not saying like you want to get married or any of that stuff. I'm saying if you just want to date, maybe get a girlfriend or something, hopefully this discussion can help. So the first thing I want to say, and I want you to keep this in mind throughout every other point that I say, this should always underlie everything else, is listen to your gut. Your gut very, very rarely is off. Even if you've got trauma up the ass from your past, your gut is still not going to be wrong 99% of the time. You know that gut feeling when you're like, something's just not right, something's just up. I don't feel comfortable with XYZ. My gut told me, screamed at me to not get married to the bitch that I got married to. And I didn't listen. I made excuses for it. It's exactly, Zio. It's like a spider sense. It's cold feet. It's it'll be fine. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do at this point in my life. When I got married, I was 26. Now I'm almost 40. I turned 40 in 6 months, 7 months. So yeah, it's you're young and dumb and you make mistakes. But luckily, I got out of it fairly. Not unscathed, but I got a lot of emotional damage and trauma from that marriage. But financially, I made off way better than most dudes do. Lord Pan says, if I can say, yes, there's a lot of red pill rage, but to be honest, after understanding female and human nature, women are good the way they are. Mostly, real issue is ruling simps in power. Yeah, simps. Let me put it this way: if simps didn't exist, simps and white knights were just instantly gone. There would be no thoughts. Thoughts thrive off simps and white knights. Faint says gut intuition is the universe helping you out. It's right 101% of the time. I'd agree with that. Yeah, like it's what you like and what you don't, and your gut's really smart about telling you when you're in a situation you shouldn't be in or with the person you shouldn't be with. But we have habits of just fucking ourselves, right? Hi, AG boy, I'm here. What's up, Dragon Crusader? Follow. How's it going? So keep that in mind under everything else I say. Trust your gut, right? Because everything should default back to that. So let's talk about red flags. And typically, what you'll find in most like red pill stuff is they say the same red flags. They'll say things like, single mom, don't date, which I agree with. That's a big red fucking flag, right? Don't do it, guys. Don't date single moms. Just don't. I don't care how fucking cool she is. Be her friend if you think she's that cool. Don't hit it. Don't quit it. Just don't. No. Don't. Okay, so that is definitely a red flag still. A lot of other people will say tattoos are an instant red flag. And for me, tattoos are a yellow flag because you need to have context, right? And placement. If she's got a tramp stamp, it's a red flag. If she's got a chest boob, tattoo, yeah, that's a red flag in my opinion. However, if she's got like something on her arm or her ankle or somewhere, but it has meaning behind it, like what if it's a religious meaning? Just get details, right? Ask what it's about. If her answer is, I just thought it looked cool, or, I was drunk with my friends in Vegas and we got tattoos, that's a red flag. But if it's something meaningful to her, then, and it's tasteful, that's different, right? You got to take tattoos on a case-by-case basis. Same thing with like piercings with some exceptions. If she's got nipple piercings, and she's got one of those bull nose rings, instant hard pass. No, for me anyway. I think that's a red flag. Other piercings, are yellow, and you should proceed with caution, but get more information. But those are the basic ones that I've seen most of the communities out there tout. Nice, Dragon, nice. Yeah, you need to be a judge of yourself. Some dudes find certain tattoos and certain piercings hot. Other ones don't. So again, that's more personal. Listen to your gut type situation. Now, everybody on the planet, especially me, but everybody on the planet, if you're a teenager to an adult, you have baggage. and you have emotional damage from your past, a lot of the time you don't even know is there, right? Everybody's fucked up in their own way, and their parents did it to them, right? Their parents or their environment did it to them. Obviously, and it's a numbers game. So obviously, if you grew up, if you're a chick that grew up, with your a strong masculine father figure in your house, you weren't molested, you weren't, didn't get into a whole lot of trouble, didn't really do drugs. Obviously, your chances of you being really fucked up and are low, and that you'll be a good partner are higher, right? But I've met plenty of chicks that did have a dad in the house, and guys too, that did have a dad in the house and are still fucked up, dysfunctional people, right? And I've met people that came from really shitty single mom homes, abusive homes, and they turned out all right. And here's the difference, right? Here's what makes somebody all right. Family of origin is very important, right? Because it helps you predict future behavior. However, it's how they look at it. If they look at a shitty upbringing, if a chick you're considering dating looks at a shitty upbringing and doesn't see the problem with it and never did anything to address any of the trauma she went through as a kid, hard pass, man. Get the fuck out, right? It's no. Now, if they came from a shitty family, but man, they recognize it, they openly admit it, and they're like, I'm going to break the cycle. I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to be that way. And they're actually dealing with their trauma. They're getting therapy. They're doing whatever to fix themselves. They're taking responsibility for their own lives. That's different. But that again, this is vetting, right? This is figuring this shit out. And if they're just telling you things, or if they're actually doing it, make sure they walk the walk, not just talk the talk, right? Another big way to avoid getting in a relationship with someone who's just a piece of shit or a thought is look at their social media presence. If they have no social media presence, that's fucking awesome. If they have a social media presence, but it's very limited, as in just for their work, and their work isn't sex work, that's a given. Like, they're, in some kind of field where they need to have a Twitter account or they need to have an Instagram, and nothing they're posting is of a sexual nature, that's still great. That's fine, right? However, if their Instagram is full of pictures that are the kind of pictures they should be sending to someone they're in a relationship with privately, or they're constantly having stacks and stacks of selfies and constantly seeking validation and attention from random fucking assholes on the internet, that's a clear-cut sign to fucking not even waste your time. Don't even bother. They're narcissists. You got a narcissist on your fucking hands. Walk away. Don't even start, so you don't have to walk away, right? Don't even start. It's very, very easy to point out an attention whore. Very easy. Helen Keller could fucking find one with her eyes, right? That's how easy it is. Now, something that's super important, and I want you guys to think hard about this, because I think a lot of men in this day and age don't ask themselves these questions. One, what are your boundaries and what are your values? I can give you some examples of my own, right? So some of my values are honesty, loyalty, right? Integrity, generosity. Those are values to me that I have, that I've followed since I was a kid. Done my best to follow. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. I've lied before and I've stolen shit before. You live and learn, though, and you eat a shit sandwich and you get better, right? You become a better person if you recognize where you fuck up. That's how you find out what your boundaries are. I mean, your values are, is you cross a value, you fuck up one of your own values, and you realize how shitty it makes you feel. That's how you know it's a value. So really ask yourself, what are my values? What do I find valuable? Because what you find valuable, sorry, bump the mic. What you find valuable in yourself is likely going to be what you find, at least some of those you're going to find as you're going to want as values in the person that you potentially date. Right? They should be the same values. If you value honesty, for example, but you're going on a few dates with some chick and then you get the sense, your gut tells you can't trust them. You don't feel like you can be yourself around them, or you can't trust them, or that they're not being honest with you. Cut fucking ties. You can't change another person. If she's a fucking liar and deceitful, she always will be until she wants to change it herself. You can't convince her to. So just, cut fishing line cast again. Then your boundaries. Boundaries are different. What will and will not tolerate, right? I'm not saying if someone violates a boundary, whether it's a potential romantic partner or a friend or a family member, if they violate your boundary and you never told them what your boundary is, that's on you, right? That's your step right there to go, hey, don't do that. I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. Don't ever do that again. If they apologize and say they didn't know, they're sorry, and then they never do it again, great. That's awesome. You don't need to cut ties with that person. However, if they mock your boundary, they make fun of you, they say it's not a big deal, they don't apologize, or then they do apologize and then they just break the same boundary later, get the scissors out and cut that bitch out of your life. You can't tolerate people like that. I don't care if you've been friends with them for 20 years. If they're violating your boundaries and they ignore them and keep going over them, they'll never stop. So cut them out of your life. And if they ask you, hey, how come you don't call me anymore? How come you're hanging out? Be like, because you don't respect me. You violated a boundary and you just kept fucking doing it. And I don't tolerate shit like that. So you've got to be very, very clear what your boundaries are. And again, don't hold it in. Tell people what your values and boundaries are, especially a potential, like on a first date. Ask them that question. What do you value? What are your values? What are your goals? What boundaries do you have? What won't you tolerate from someone you're in a relationship with, right? And whatever boundaries or values they give you, make sure they're holding themselves to the same standard. Because if they say, if you're dating some chick and she's like, you're like, oh, I value loyalty, right? If someone cheated on me, I'd tell them I'd break up with them immediately. And they're like, yeah, me too. I don't want to date a cheater. But then they go off and cheat, or you find out they have cheated, then they're fucking lying and they're hypocrites, and cut them out. Cut them out immediately. Now, another topic, and please, at any time, I'm kind of curious for those of you watching, how many, by the show of hands, how many times has somebody, whether a romantic relationship or not, violated one of your boundaries and you didn't do anything about it? You just ate that shit sandwich. You just kept it in. Made excuses in your own head of why it was okay they did it and why you should give them a pass. Or maybe it's, I don't want to get in a fight, right? I don't want to get in a fight. What is it with us dudes that we're so afraid of conflict and getting in fights, especially mainly if it's with a chick, especially a chick that either you want to bang or you are banging. Like, why? Again, I think it boils down to our the programming, the gynocentric programming of our youth. Can't ever make her unhappy, no matter what. Even if to not set her off, we have to eat our own shit. I think that we as dudes do that fairly frequently. And I also forgot to preface, guys, even if you follow all this advice and you do all these things, your odds of success are still not high, no matter what you do, because of the society and the quality of people that we have in this day and age. So I'm not doing this like, hey, follow these simple pickup artist steps and you'll get this really hot chick that's everything you want. No, I'm not advertising that at all. All right, I'm just giving you guys pointers and help so you don't end up in a shitty marriage like I did. If you want to date, and if you're really looking for somebody, you get a good grasp on it before you go in. Lord Pan says, my ex-girlfriend used to do that and blamed it on mental illness. Boundaries. When I stopped putting up with her bullshit, she acted right. Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. Everyone in the world, especially the most chicks these days, are on some mental illness spectrum. I mean, that's what baggage is, right? And mental illness gets so specific, they have to give anything a name. So if you have any kind of trauma as a kid, it's going to fall on some mental illness thing. But if someone ever uses their mental illness as a crutch or as an excuse to treat you like garbage, you need to tell them to kick fucking rocks, because that's not an excuse, right? My ex-wife did that shit all the time too, where it's because I'm mentally unwell. That's why. It's like, okay, but it doesn't give you the right to shit on me. When I'm thinking about it, I laugh at it. Yeah. I just want a lover and a friend. And again, at the end of the day, Dragon, I think that's what every dude ultimately wants that has any interest in dating, right? So let's go into some green flags, right? And green flags are actually harder to spot. Green flags are harder to spot because they're usually not on the outside, right? It's not something you can fake either very easily, as opposed to, you may see a chick, for example, with some tattoos, and you go, oh, she's got tattoos, she's a communist or whatever the fuck, or she's got 600 mental illnesses. I'm not even gonna bother. I forgot to change my title again. Let me fix that. Yeah, and you may have missed out on someone who's not any of those things that you perceived her to be right out of the gate. Let's fix this here. All right, don't be a simp. It's up there now. I always forget to change the title. So these green flags are a little harder to find, but if you look, you'll find them. Okay, so accountability. Does who you're dating take accountability for herself, for where she is in life, for her decisions? Does she take accountability and responsibility for herself and her own actions? If the answer is yes, she doesn't play the victim card, then you already have a leg up. You already might have a good one on your hands, right? Because that's rare as fuck, especially for chicks in this day and age. I mean, and I think, again, that boils down to parental teaching, right? Because I've met plenty of like super conservative chicks, but they have Disney princess syndrome because they were daddy's little princess, right? Daddy gave them everything they fucking wanted, whenever the fuck they wanted, so now they're entitled as fuck. Sure, they may look on the outside and seem pretty feminine and seem very nice, but then when you actually get to know them, they're man-eating bitches, man. Just as bad as some, radical left commie bitch with blue hair. Just as bad. But in fact, some way worse, because they don't have the venomous colors on the outside, they're camouflage, they're chameleons. So make sure they have accountability. Accountability is women's kryptonite, Lord Pan says. And you know what? For the majority of chicks, I would agree with you. And again, I don't think it's something that is biologically wired into them to not take accountability. It's all learned behavior, man. They learn this shit from shitty parents and shitty peers growing up, and they're never corrected, right? The reason why dudes are so good at taking responsibility and accountability is because from the time we're like old enough to walk, we have to. Very few dudes are fucking babied at all. We have to take responsibility and accountability. We don't have a choice. We can't bat our eyelids and our eyelashes and smile and get away with shit. Even as little kids, never fucking get away with that. So it's learned behavior, right? So accountability and responsibility. I can give you a good example of this. The chick that I'm dating now, right? We had a small. We rarely fight, right? So, but like we had like a small disagreement, and she kind of lost her temper, and I told her while she lost her temper that that's not okay, and I wasn't going to deal with that, and pretty much not to grow up, but I was just like, no, that's not okay. And then to be fair, we were both pretty hammered when this kind of argument went down, and the next day she's like, yeah, that was fucked up. I shouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that ever again. And she hasn't. I'm not going to do that ever again. That was disrespectful. I'm sorry. And she makes fun of herself now too for it. She makes jokes about her doing that. So that's one big thing you got to look at. If she had not taken accountability for it and had tried to fight me further on it, I would have been like, yeah, this ain't working out for me, right? If she was gonna not even acknowledge that what she did was not okay. Again, and that goes into apologies. The next thing, a green flag. If and when your girlfriend fucks up, because she will, just like you will, because we're human, or who you're dating, not necessarily your girlfriend, but who you're dating fucks up, do they apologize and mean it? And you can't tell if someone means it by just their tone of voice. You tell someone means it because they don't repeat the behavior, right? So do they apologize? If the answer to that is yes, again, another green flag. And that ties into also the next green flag. Do they respect your boundaries that you have clearly stated? If they do, great. Green flag. If they don't and they keep violating the same boundary over and over again, they don't respect you, therefore you can't respect them, therefore a relationship can't exist. And then here's something else that we all need to look at. And it can be a red or a green flag, depending on what the answer is. How does this person fight? So when you're going to get into a disagreement, because again, you will, how do they fight? Do they raise their voice? Do they shout at you? Do they call you names? Red flags. Is it more of just a disagreement where you both say your point of view and you both try to come to an understanding in the middle of like, okay, that was just a miscommunication, or I see where you're coming from. Let's see where we can compromise to where we're both happy. If it's a discussion and a disagreement, that's a green flag. If it's a shouting match and a yelling and throwing things and getting violent physically or emotionally, red flag, get the fuck out. Because trust me, if she's screaming and yelling and throwing shit early now, it's only going to get worse. It won't get better because I guarantee you she doesn't even realize that it's a problem. And, realistically, someone yelling and screaming at you and throwing shit at you or hitting you, putting their hands on you, should be a boundary of yours anyway, regardless of whether it's someone you're dating, a family member, or a friend. That should already be a fucking boundary, right? That's not arguing. That's how children fight. They scream and yell and call each other names. That's how little kids fight, right? Push each other over and shit. If you're dating a little kid, you either need to be registered as a sex offender or realize that you're probably dating someone who's a little kid in a grown woman's body and get the fuck out. And before you know it, you have a turd in your bed. Exactly, Galantis. Amber Heard's a perfect example. Before you know it, someone's taking a shit right in your bed. Oh God, what a shit show! I'm glad she got called out, man. It did so much good for men and women everywhere. That bitch got exposed. Okay. Now I know this is something else I wanted to. I hate adult children. I agree, Dragon. This is something else I wanted to touch on because a lot of channels and people don't talk about it. But one of the biggest things that I found about men going their own way, manosphere, red pill, stuff like that, because there's great information, there's great resources, there's a lot of good things about it where they encourage you to self-improve, where they encourage you to take control of your own life, right? And don't put any bitch on a pedestal, which I agree with. Don't do that ever. All these things are good advice, but then there's a lot of red pill ragers in there too that don't admit there's one key thing, and this applies to men and women. Human beings are social creatures, right? We want someone to confide in, to trust, to talk to, and it's hard to find people like that. Really think about how many people in your life you actually trust. I'm 40 and I can think of a handful. And I've met thousands of people at this point in my life, right? Probably tens of thousands of people. And it's really tough. But at our core, we're social creatures. Now, dudes, I think, are a lot better at being 100% on their own than chicks are. And that's biology. I don't think it has anything to do with social programming. I think that's just biology. I think both sides want someone like that, but dudes can go a lot longer without it because we kind of have to from the time we're kids, right? Again, the programming, we're taught to man the fuck up, right, when we're little kids, and so we get used right out of the gate of being on our own, being self-sufficient. And there are a lot of fucking soy boys out there now that aren't. I mean, they're pretty much chicks in dude bodies. They still have low T though, but whatever. But there's like probably all humans combined, I would say less than 2 or 3% of them can actually be alone 100% of the time for their whole lives and be happy with it. It's a pretty rare person that doesn't need any kind of social interaction. I should know, as I went outside of the people I talked to on my video game streams and I interacted with, my family members over, the phone or whatever. For the over 3 years after my divorce where I lived alone, it was just me and little Raz. It got, there were definitely some lonely times, right? Because all my close friends, they're all married with kids or divorced and even more miserable than me, or live really far away. So, I'm introverted as fuck, right? I love peace and quiet. I really do. And that's one of the chick I'm dating now. It's something she's going through, is learning. She's never dated an introvert before, because I can be very extroverted. I love entertaining people. I mean, it kind of have to be, I was acting all over the country on stage and on film for, 13, 14, 15 years. But who I am at my core is I'm very introverted, and I love my space and I love my privacy. And she's never dated anybody like that. And so I told her, I'm like, I need to recharge. I need me time. And she's like, she's never experienced that before, and she's taking it really well. She gives me my space when I ask for it. Very respectful about it, which I appreciate. And she doesn't take it personally, right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, it's not you. Any human being, if I'm around them too long, I start to feel claustrophobic and my energy is drained. And it's just how it is. And she's adapting quite well to it. So you need to be clear about what kind of person you are too, right? If you're introverted, don't pretend to be extroverted, to be to be with someone or appease someone you want to date, right? You want to get in the sack. If your goal is just to pound and get the hell out, then yeah, the ideal strategy is to fucking lie and pretend to be something you're not. But don't do that, guys. It's not worth it, man. Even if you're a Chad and you can pump and dump, man, it ultimately gets really empty, in my opinion, anyway. So we're social creatures, and you know how everyone says, "Hey, how do you get a chick, right? How do you get someone that really cares about you?" And for the longest time, people were like, "Just be yourself," and then through various movements and various things, we're like, "Yeah, that's bullshit." You can't be yourself. You gotta be, a bad boy. You gotta be, And here's the thing: I'm gonna blow your mind here with this 4D chess, right? The right chick, you can just be yourself around, and you should also take a look at yourself. Do you like yourself? I think a lot of guys say, I just want to be myself, but they don't even like who they are. So find out what you don't like about yourself and fix that fucking shit. Right? Be more masculine if that's what you want to be, which I think you should. Don't take shit from people. Do you, right? And then once you're in a place where you're like, I like who I am, I love who I am, you shouldn't have to pretend, because if you pretend, you're going to get the kind of chicks that pretend themselves too. That's the kind of chicks you're going to attract. Right? If you have to pretend to be something else, there's a good chance the amount of chicks you'll attract are going to be much higher in quantity, but the quality is going to take a fucking nosedive. I'll tell you that right now. Lord Pan says, another red flag is when you said to a woman how you are and she tries to change you. Yes, I'm going to get into that. That's a good point, Pan. I am definitely going to get into that. I like my space to be able to draw. Don't like too much when people enter my space without warning. Exactly, right? And it ties into be yourself. If they want to change you, that means they don't like you for who you are and you're with the wrong fucking person. If they're trying to change you into something you're not, or to think the way they do, or to like the things they like and to not like the things you already like, not like the friends that you currently have, cut fucking ties and bounce. It's not worth it. This is something I learned more recently. I was able to put it into words. Something I understood, but I never really grasped until more recently. I think as dudes, especially if you're an introverted dude like me, we tend to sacrifice our inner peace to have external peace. Now, what do I mean by that? Say you have some tension with the chick you're dating. Let's say you guys got in a little squabble, right, or a disagreement, and you feel that tension there. And you want to fix it because as dudes, we're fixers. You're like, I want to fix it so there's not tension anymore. So what you'll do is you'll sacrifice your own internal peace, i.e. make a concession of something you want to do or somewhere you want to be or a thought you have, an opinion you have. You sacrifice it to get the waters calm again, right? And I'm here to tell you right now that that leads to insanity. I did that for 10 years. Constantly sacrificing my internal peace for external peace. Internal peace is so much more important. It's okay if the waters outside of you are unsettled if you're a fucking rock, right? If you're always settled, the waves can crash around you. Who gives a fuck? They'll settle down and calm down on their own, right? If you feel your chick's mad at you and you just go, hey, you upset about something? And she's like, no. Like, all right, take it at face value. And if she comes back and goes, oh, I really was mad, be like, well, that's your fucking fault. I asked you. You said nothing, so I believed you. Are you saying you're a liar? Are you saying that you're lying to me? Right? And don't let it faze you. You can't control what people think. You can't control what other people feel. And if they feel or think a certain thing about you, who gives a shit? If it's a big enough issue that they want to talk about it, then they can talk to you about it and you guys can have a discussion about it. But if it's just a bunch of bullshit, then no. Be like, that's childish, that's bullshit, I'm not going to address it. That's a you issue, right? As dudes, we need to stop sacrificing our inner peace to have external peace, to make sure everyone's okay. That's kind of what people pleasing is, right? Make sure there's no fights, make sure there's no tension, make sure everything's all right. Regardless of how it feels inside, we have to abandon our own values. Because how you destroy your inner peace is when you abandon or forsake your own values and boundaries for the sake of keeping the peace. That's fucking terrible. It's unhealthy. Don't do it. Dragon says, I'll never sacrifice inner peace. Good, man. Devil's Advocate says, hey, it's Raz Wisdom right there. Indeed, be a rock and let everything fall flat on you. Exactly. What's up, Devil? How you doing, man? Thanks. Yeah, you have to not give a shit. Stoicism, man. Right? And here's the thing is a lot of guys too can confuse being stoic as being an asshole. It's not. You can be yourself. You can be a man. You can be masculine without treating women or other people like shit. Without shitting on them. You can achieve doing all this without being a fucking prick. To, you know, because you know how they say, oh yeah, chicks only choose the bad boys. I'm gonna break it down to you. Only shitty women choose the bad boys. Right? They really do. Like, if you got to turn yourself into a bad boy to get chicks, yeah, you'll get more chicks. You'll get a lot more chicks. But guess what? You'll be getting pieces of shit. You'll be getting little girls that never grow up in women's bodies. Immature, narcissistic, have no clue what they want in life, you know, drink all the narrative Kool-Aid. That's who you'll attract if you're a bad boy. That's 100% who you will attract. So it is true that, and that's the majority of women in this day and age, unfortunately. By majority, I mean over 51%. That's the majority, right? So take whatever statistic you think is true in your heart and apply it. But yeah, if you change to be the bad boy and you're which is not you're not being authentic to yourself when you do that. But if you change to being a bad boy, you're going to attract the kind of women that are going to cheat on you and dump you and treat you like shit anyway. Or, you know, you have to constantly keep them in line because they're always acting like little brats. You don't want that anyway. That's a fucking headache. Well, women choose the bad boy because he's dominant. You don't need to be a bad boy to be dominant. Just be masculine. Don't be a soy boy simp. Exactly, Lord Pan. Exactly. And that's going to go into what I was going to say next, where people go, yeah, nice guys finish last. Let me tell you, man, nice guys are the worst of the kind. Like, you know, the male feminists and the nice guys that are like, they're actually not nice at all. They're pretending to be nice, pretending to mold into, again, not being their authentic selves, mold into the white knight, you know, or the, here, madam, put another stamp on my simp card, so eventually I'm rewarded with sex, and I get to get 15 more stamps. They're the secret rapists, exactly, Dragon. The nice guys are actually not nice. And the reason why it's a nice guy or a soy boy make most chicks' vaginas drier than the Sahara Desert most of the time is because they see through that shit and they realize what the dude's doing. And it's unattractive to have a guy who's a weak, limp dick pussy who doesn't stand up for himself, doesn't stand up for his boundaries, has no values, and just eats a shit sandwich and asks for another bite. Right? That's unattractive to anybody. In the exact same way that, like, to us dudes, a chick's not attractive that lets us steamroll them, right? It's not attractive if you have a girlfriend that you can just steamroll over and she never says her opinion or never stands up for herself if she feels like she's not being treated fairly or not being heard, right? Guys don't want a fucking pushover either, right? Because then if one day you're one of the guys who wants to have kids, what kind of mom is she going to make? She's going to let the kids bulldoze her too. And that's how you get another generation of spoiled little shits that don't know how to set boundaries or have values of their own. It's and again, it doesn't. And a lot of chicks get like masculine when they try to act masculine. They get it confused that being masculine dominant means screaming and acting like a bitch and demanding orders and demanding things from people. That's not how a true man acts. True man, like, we have our values and our boundaries. We're kind, we're generous, we're helpful, but we don't let anybody step over our boundaries, and we don't ever neglect our needs, right? That's just why I said in the podcast, Happy Wife, Happy Life is bullshit. That you as a dude should always be the center of your own universe, with whoever you're in a relationship with floating close by next to you, right? Like, still in the center of your universe, but isn't the absolute center. Your needs and your priorities and your wants and goals and dreams should be a top priority to you. And you know what? The chick you're dating, she should have dreams and goals too, and you should make sure that your dreams and goals are compatible, obviously. But if they are, they should be important to her. She shouldn't let you shit all over her whenever you want, in the same way that you don't allow her to shit on you whenever she wants, ever. Right? Because we're still human beings, and I think oftentimes, in a lot of ways, it's just as toxic as it is for there are two ends of the extreme, right? You got the soy boy pussy who's, his girlfriend's boyfriend, his wife's boyfriend buys him a Nintendo Switch while he fucking rearranges her guts in the next room. That's on the far left end of the spectrum, right? And then on the far right is the super traditional dude, but he beats the shit out of his wife, right? He's always kicking her ass and knocking her around. We've got to be in the middle, man, and it all comes down to having respect. So when we're talking about this, what we really need to do is stop rewarding low quality women as dudes, right? How are dudes rewarding low quality women? Looking at their Instagram, paying for their OnlyFans, liking things on their Instagram, sending cringe ass fucking messages in their DMs with other 360,000 dudes that did it that day. Donating to these Twitch thoughts that are just showing their cleavage and can't even play a fucking video game to save their life, right? And doing bootleg ripped off versions of DDR fucking dances on their webcams, and hot tub streams and shit. Stop rewarding that. Just don't go anywhere near it. Don't give them the time of fucking day. We need to execute Order 66 against those simps. I wouldn't be opposed, man. That would be opposed. Yeah, Drag says you got to be the adult. Yeah, you should both be adults if you're in a relationship. Both of you need to be adults. And you know what? Though I think there are more women than men that don't act like adults in this day and age, both sexes are guilty. And yes, there are only two sexes. Hate to break to you. But yeah, both are guilty of being fucking babies and never growing the fuck up. And don't confuse growing up with what hobbies you have. That's irrelevant. What hobbies you have doesn't determine how much of a mature adult you are. What determines how mature of an adult you are you good at communication, and do you handle conflict well? And how do you regulate your stress, and how do you treat people? And are you responsible with your money and your job? That's what determines if you're a functioning adult, not if you like video games or skateboarding or basketball or any fucking thing else, right? Because that's a lot of people use hobbies, especially chicks. I've noticed when they're talking to dudes, they use hobbies as a shaming tactics. Like, oh, you like fucking video games? Grow up, you're a man child. Like, okay, you put on clown makeup every fucking day. You're not even presenting your authentic self physically, let alone how you are, on a spiritual and an emotional level or an intellectual level. So again, it's very easy to spot low quality women. Stop rewarding them. Stop giving them the fucking time of day. Because again, it's not your job to convince someone else to be good to you, especially someone you're interested in dating, right? Because like I said earlier, everybody, whether they're a romantic interest or not, the second you meet them, you're teaching them, you're training them on how you are okay with being treated yourself. And if you are constantly letting them shit on you, it's going to be that much harder if you ever turn around and stand up for yourself, because that's going to come out of nowhere to them, right? And it's going to become irreparable at that point. OnlyFans is a relationship ender for me. Oh, 100%. I wouldn't date a chick with OnlyFans. Fuck no. So I have another thing. Hold on one second. Another thing written down here. Where is it? So again, remember, underlie all this, listen to your gut. Your gut will tell you if it's a low quality woman. Your gut will tell you if that's a yellow or a red flag. Your gut will tell you if your boundary's been crossed or if your values aren't being respected. Here's the bottom line though, guys. You remember I talked about a little earlier in the podcast about sacrificing your inner peace for external peace, and this falls under the same umbrella, which is be prepared to walk away at any time and be prepared to let them walk at any time, right? That doesn't mean expect them to leave or expect the relationship to fall apart. No, what that means is if you're constantly being disrespected, don't play scarcity mindset, don't have a victim card, walk away. And it also means if you're unwilling to sacrifice your internal peace, that also must mean you just be willing to let them walk away. If they're like, do this or do this, and you're in some argument and they say, if you don't do this, right? Or if you don't act this way, or if you don't give up this hobby or this friend or this activity or, this thing you had planned, if you don't give it up, I'm out. Be like, there's the fucking door. Be ready to let them always be ready to let them walk, and be ready to walk yourself if you have to, right? Don't be afraid of it. Life will go on. I absolutely 100% promise you it will go on. If a relationship just ends, right? I mean, one of the biggest reasons I stayed in my terrible marriage for so long is because I was afraid she would walk, when I knew for years that I should have walked a long time ago. So don't learn from my mistakes. Don't make the same ones. I'm right now in a good relationship, probably the healthiest relationship I ever had. The main reasons is we have the same boundaries. We have very similar values, with a few ones that are a little different, but we respect each other's views and values. We don't try to change the other person at all. We share our opinion and sometimes have to agree to disagree. We don't rage and yell at each other. It's all about, we really do. We communicate really well. We're very clear with what we accept and what we don't. If a boundary gets crossed, we're like, hey, don't do that. And we both, right at the start, said, yeah, if shit doesn't work out, if it's not good, if something's not going well, and it's something that I can't deal with because it's like a boundary or a deal breaker for me, I'm going to walk. We both said that to each other. We're like, yeah, and that would suck, but we'd be okay. If you walked, I would be okay. If I walked, she'd be okay. It would hurt, but eventually everything would be okay. And we know that going in. We don't have this like Disney fucking fantasy of what a relationship should be, which most people fucking do. All right, guys. So that's the content and the points I had that I wanted to hit. we're here at the end of this particular stream, but I'm interested in what you guys, if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, now's the time. Anything you want to add? I'm a pretty open book about my past too, so if you are interested and have a question, now's the fucking time. Next week will definitely be a gaming topic again. And again, I'm going to say it again, for those of you who came in late, Little Raz does not have cancer. Let me grab him real quick. 1 second. Razzie. You got a haircut. You got a haircut. He does not have cancer, so he's good. He's 13 years old in September. If you like my content, especially these mental health videos, whether it's about gaming or mental health, and don't worry, I will be streaming some gaming again soon. I just haven't found a game I really want to stream yet. I've been playing a little bit of Dying Light 2, and still playing, some Destiny 2 and some other random games, but nothing I'm really hooked in. But if you like my content, you don't have to become a subscriber or anything, because I know that costs money. But if you just, a member, but if you just subscribe to the channel, if you share it with people you think the information would help, if you listen to it, download it on Spotify, because the episodes go up on Spotify within 24 hours at the end. It's very helpful to me, and I appreciate it greatly. Play Ultra Kill. I don't know what that is. I don't know what Ultra Kill is. So, Razzie. Yeah, and if you're watching this stream and it's over, if you're at the end of the stream here and you only got to watch, please leave comments on YouTube. I read them all and I respond to them, and yeah, I do my best to get to DMs as well. If you can join my Discord if you want to. It's more of a gaming focused Discord, but yeah, and I'm still doing gaming content. But ultimately, I like doing these podcasty videos once a week as well, where I can, talk about men's mental health and men's issues and just issues in society in general, because we all know the algorithm and there's a lot of censorship out there, and a lot of dudes don't have people they can talk to, or a lot of dudes think they're alone in the way they think, or their experiences, especially if their experiences in dating. It's very easy to get lost in all this shit as a dude in this day and age, especially when you're constantly told that no one cares about you and no one needs you, which is not fucking true. I care about you guys, and you should be a priority in your own life. I have way too many friends that are not priorities in their own lives, and it's sad. And one other thing I did want to add to the green flag list, because I just remembered, and this one's a big one, and I think a lot of chicks would fail this test, would not have this as a green flag. Are they supportive of your hobbies, your goals, and your dreams? If they're not supportive, especially, and they don't like your hobbies and they give you shit for the things you enjoy, just leave. That's a walk away moment. Just go away. Regardless if they share the hobby or not, they should be supportive of your hobby. Unless your hobby is, raping kids or stealing, from liquor stores and committing armed robbery. Then if they're supportive of that, that's a red flag, and you should reevaluate your whole fucking life at that point. But yeah, just make sure they're respectful. I agree, Dragon. It's good to be more positive, more helpful, and that's what I'm trying to do, because it's really easy to complain. I think that's what a lot of red pill message channels tend to do, is just complain and bitch and make fun of things. I'd rather not. I'd rather just be like, hey, world sucks. This is how it is. But maybe we can make it a little better for each other, and it is possible, though hard and exceptionally rare, to find a chick out there that's worth your time as a dude, right? But that goes without saying. Anyway, guys, damn, they wouldn't even get a second date with me. Yeah, and as they shouldn't. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for coming by and showing support. Comment in the YouTube channel. This will be up on Spotify within probably the next 5 to 6 hours, so you can download it and listen to it there. If you have ideas for other topics you want me to talk about, whether they're gaming related or related to men's issues or mental health or just society in general, you can suggest those on the AMA channel on my Discord, which anyone can join my Discord. It's all over my YouTube page. I really appreciate the support, guys. Everyone, take care of yourselves. And as always, my friends, keep it real.